Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the extra time segment for Everton 1, Manchester United 0. We're going to be looking back on a very, very crucial victory for Everton after a week that had a lot of hardship. Needed it. So, there's a lot of the emotional roller coaster as well and truly underway, isn't it, as we go into the run-in for the end of the season. I'm joined by Paul. We're going to start by looking back on the Manchester United's win. First of all, to set the context, obviously, we were going to do a recording about the Burnley game, and I think none of us were in any sort of emotional headspace to be able to manage it. So I think that tells you all about how crestfallen we all were after that result against Burnley on Wednesday night. It was horrific, wasn't it? And obviously left us in a very, very perilous position going into the game on Saturday.
Yeah, Wednesday night, after that shocker that happened. I mean, I say shocker, does anything shock you with Everton? But just after that absolute kick in the groin, it's just I was like everyone else on social media, and probably people who were maybe at the game itself or watching it in the pub or at home. Just anyone who supports Everton, I was just completely crestfallen. Is the word. I was distraught.
Yeah,
distraught. I thought that's it. We're gone. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. Everton are going to get relegated, and we are going to have to see our team in the Championship, possibly even worse. I mean, things can change very quickly in football, can't it? That's the old adage, and it's absolutely true. Things can change like that in football, and one good result or one bad result could make it feel like the world's ending or the world's the best place to be. The Burnley game, we didn't really learn anything that we didn't know already. We know certain players are absolutely not up to playing for this football club. We know they can't be relied upon to steer us through a crisis. We know that we can't even put them in for the odd game and hope that they kind of hold their own and don't screw up too bad. There's just certain players who absolutely can't be taken to the field for Everton in any sort of way after this season, when hopefully we'll have a chance to get rid of them and replace them in the summer. But yeah, that Burnley game, if there was no way you were convincing me on Wednesday night or Thursday morning or Friday that we were going to stay up after that happened. But the club responded, the team responded, certain players responded. I wouldn't say they all did. Yesterday, against Manchester United, that was a game that for weeks now I was actually fancying us to get a result in that, honest to God, because of just where and when it fell on Grand National Day, early kickoff. And I just thought the guy would be up for it. It's always going to be when a Mancunian team comes to town. But after that Burnley game, as I said, I just threw everything out the window. I just assumed, no, it doesn't matter what happens between now and the end of the season. Everton are not going to get away. Everton are going to finish in the bottom three. So I kind of just forgot all about that feeling I had that we can really beat United when they rock up at Goodison, just given the troubles that they're in. But my prediction actually came true to a T. The prediction I told myself, and I told a few people who I talk football with every day. I just thought United got here and showed basically what Everton show whenever we go away. Just no balls at all, no fight, no spirit, no ideas. Just relying on one or two good players that they've got to maybe conjure something up out of nothing and snatch a result for them. And that's not a game plan to be taken into any away game in the Premier League. And lo and behold, what so often transpires with Everton, transpired for United. They went away, offered nothing. Other team just got the crowd behind them, got a little bit of luck, and it was enough to get them all 3 points, whilst United go away with nothing. That's so often the case with Everton, isn't it? We got that 3 points, and earlier on today, I was biting my nails down to right down, watching that Norwich Burnley game, and oh my goodness, that was such a welcome result. Burnley not beating Norwich, because I thought even after we won that game yesterday, I kind of had me hope back again, sort of things. Like, right, well, we are still in the fight, but I do expect Burnley to be winning that game tomorrow against Norwich and slashing it back down to 1 point deficit. So it is going to be just an absolute slugfest between us and Burnley over the next 7 games. But Burnley losing that game to Norwich today is flip the board back around again. Now you do fancy Everton to be strong favourites to finish above Burnley and somehow stay up. So, yeah, after Wednesday night to Saturday morning, I was just distraught and utterly convinced that Everton were going to get relegated, and trying to decide to myself whether I wanted to even carry on supporting the club properly anymore. I mean, I'd always identify as an Evertonian, but I haven't renewed my season ticket as of yet. And I was thinking to myself, do I even want to renew my season ticket? I was leaning towards no, I don't, because I don't fancy paying £600-700 to go watch a team in the Championship that I'm absolutely convinced probably won't come back at the first time of asking. It's the hope that kills you, isn't it? It's the hope that kills you. Everton have given us fresh hope, and please God, just don't kill us again, because we've had enough killing this season.
We've been put through the mill, haven't we, all of us, I think. But
yeah,
you mentioned the Burnley game there. I think you say some of the players who really should never be pulling an Everton shirt on, obviously with the exception maybe to Jared Brandtwaite. The other ones, the names you were naming probably were all the ones who were dropped apart from him.
Yeah, there was a few players who let us down at Burnley and then played again against United when they probably didn't deserve to. Calvert-Lewin's one of them. Definitely. I'm very much in the camp of Calvert-Lewin. Get a decent offer for him in the summer. I'll hold the door open for him. I think there is a talented player in there. I do think he's not a one-season wonder. If he goes to whoever it is, if he goes to an Arsenal or he goes to a United or he goes wherever, I do think he'll become a really good centre-forward. He'll always be in that, maybe not world class. I think he'll always be in that 15 to 20 goals a season range, which is a good squad player for a team that is maybe going to challenge for trophies, or would probably be a striker who could lead the line for a team that just wants to get in the top six and challenge. But as bad as it sounds, because Everton definitely need one of those players, I think Calvert-Lewin's head's gone, and he can deny it all he wants with these crappy posts that he's putting on Instagram afterwards. Actions speak louder than words, and Calvert-Lewin hasn't looked remotely bothered for months now. For months.
I think for me,
a game against United, the ball was everything was bouncing off him. Everything was bouncing off him. He was one of the only players out there who wasn't given everything for me.
The issue I have with Calvert-Lewin now is, even if the performances did improve, I feel like as fans we've been that insulted by what we've seen.
You'd have to ask yourself as well, if they did improve, why are they improving? Are they improving to help Everton win this relegation fight, or is it improving just because he wants to bag a few goals before the end of the season to make sure he gets that move that he's obviously eyeing up?
Well, I think that was the point I was about to make, was that I think even if he does turn up his performances now, I think fans feel very insulted by his lack of graft, given the predicament we're in. I think he's kind of, thrown us to the wolves a little bit with his poor performances up top. I think, we need them now more than ever, and he's not turning up week after week.
I don't want to sound like we're being overly harsh on him, because we have fans, I think, have taken into consideration that he had a bad injury at the start of the year, that it does take time to get up and running again. It does take time to get your confidence back. It does take time to kind of settle back into playing regular 90 minutes again, because he wasn't eased back in, really, was he? Just as soon as he was even half fit, we had to put him back in the team because of how poor we were over the January and February periods when he came back. But it's not just the fact that he's not scored since he's come back from injury. It's the fact that I can't even think of a game where he played really well in. And as you said, the graft has just not been there. The one thing that used to define Calvert-Lewin, the one thing he had more than anything, for all the old critics he used to get, was endeavour. He always had endeavour. He always had graft. He always had heart. Do you remember that goal that I think it was against Manchester United at home a couple of years ago when David De Gea
because he blocked.
Yeah, because it looked like a pointless run. He decided to close down David De Gea, run his heart out for something that 19 times out of 20 he would have got nothing for. De Gea would have just passed it to some, like a fullback or something, and he would have just he'd have just put that sprint in for nothing, but he still was willing to do it, and he got a goal off it. That goal, more than anything, probably sums up Calvert-Lewin at Everton. He's all heart, he's all desire, he's all running, going up for headers that he's got no right to be even winning. And where's that player gone? He used to run more than anyone, and against Burnley especially, I thought he looked like one of the most unbothered Everton players I've ever seen. It took me back to Morgan Schneiderlin against Arsenal a couple of years ago under Allardyce, where he was literally just I wouldn't even say running, he was literally half jogging around the pitch. type of performance where you think, oh, someone run on and just give him the Nyarko treatments, because it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful, the money he's on and the faith that fans are putting in him to get us out of this mess. And he looks like he's more bothered about what he's going to be wearing for his next fashion shoot. I've made me points about him saying what I've just said. Calvert-Lewin, he can go in the summer. I wouldn't sell him for buttons. It's not like I'd take like a crappy 30-40 million pound bid, which I think the likes of Arsenal or United or any other club that are interested in him are going to try. They'll look at it and think they can probably get him on the cheap if they can turn his head enough where he'll start kicking up a stink and try and force through a move. I'd still want to get a good deal for him, but for me, if we get anything, if we get 50 million or anything like that, he goes for me, and it's not even a discussion.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I'd probably, to be honest, my asking price would be a little lower than yours. To be honest, I'd take maybe 40.
Maybe 40.
Even 35.
Oh, yeah, mate, okay, but I, as I mentioned, then I can see clubs trying to be a bit naughty and trying to lowball us for it, and hoping that the player himself just kicks up a stink, and in the end we just decide we need to just wash our hands of him and get him out of the place as quickly as possible. We've seen it happen in previous examples, haven't we? But I hope the club stand firm. But if Calvert-Lewin, he's not going to be here come August and kicking off the season for us. I highly doubt that.
It's not, for me, the issue with Calvert-Lewin is if they do that, you don't dig your heels in, because with Romelu Lukaku's and your John Stones, there's players in there. I feel like we'll be doing ourselves more harm than good than clinging on, waiting for a bigger fee with him. Whereas if you did that with Lukaku, you'd still get like a decent performance out of him. I don't think you get that with Calvert-Lewin. There's not enough technical ability there.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but let's say we dug our heels in and we didn't sell him in the summer transfer window, and he ends up having to stay here for the first few months of next season. If he just starts sulking and carrying on the way he's carrying on now, where he's not even putting in any effort at all in games, and he's not scoring, and he's not helping the team in any significant way, then he's not going to be doing the clubs that want to buy him. He's not going to be making them any more desperate to get him. So he'll only be harming himself, won't he? That's why I mentioned before that I think he will score a couple before the end of the season, but it won't be to help the club. It will be to help himself. So if we go into the next season and he's still here because we haven't accepted a bid that we think is acceptable, then it's in his interest to start performing again, to get this club that we're trying to buy him to come back and up the bid for him, to make sure they get him. Because if he just spits his dummy out and carries on the way he's carrying on, then if I was an Arsenal or whoever and I was thinking about buying him this summer and then I didn't get him and then he was crap at the start of next season, I'd think, you know what, I'll probably move on and have a look somewhere else, get a non-English player who we can maybe shave 10 million off the fee for.
I think the position we're in financially, I think we need to start cashing in on.
No, I agree with that. That's true. That's a consideration, isn't it? But
I think he's definitely the asset, the most sellable asset that we would miss the least.
Oh yeah. I think we're going to sell him and probably Richarlison. I think we've got a better chance of hanging on to Richarlison. But if we sold Richarlison, I'd be absolutely heartbroken. If we sold Calvert-Lewin, I'd be like, yeah, see you, mate. See you later, mate. You gave us some good moments. You tried hard for the first few years, but when the going got tough, you did what other players have done. The likes of Morgan Schneiderlin. Yeah, the likes of Morgan Schneiderlin before you. You've spat your dummy out and you've down tools on us when we needed you more than ever. That says more about you than it does about the club or the supporters. So get lost.
Yeah, but with that in mind, obviously we've touched on him. Does the performances of pretty much everybody else was rock solid, I thought, in the Man United game?
Yeah, I don't think anyone really let us down to a point. There were a couple of players who, even though they played well, I'm still not a fan of them. I'm not getting on board with this Fabian Delph loving. I'm sorry. Fabian Delph's in the same bracket as Calvert-Lewin for me. Can't even get him on the pitch half the time, and there's no chance that he's injured as often as you were led to believe he is. I've been told by multiple people, and it's not even like I'm some in the know. It's an open secret amongst Evertonians and people who are kind of in and around the club, who've done business with the club or know people who work at the club, that Fabian Delph's a horrible egg of a person, and he will just phone up sick when he can't be bothered, and he'll only make himself available for games where he can see some of his old teammates and have a chat on the bench. So yeah, Fabian Delph played well, and he could play a massive part of keeping us up in this final run of games if he stays fit. But I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what he does between now and the end of the season. Fabian Delph should absolutely not be getting considered for a new deal, and he should not be getting hero worship the way he has been on Twitter.
That is the point I was about to make, actually, is that you speak about Calvert-Lewin maybe improving to suit his own motives to get a move. Is Fabian Delph trying to, probably not at Everton, but playing well to try
get
and
himself a new contract,
earn a new contract. Probably not here now, but I think that's time's up here at the end of the season, but playing for a new contract at another club, maybe.
That's exactly what I think he's doing, Fabian Delph. He's playing. He knows that his time at Everton is over in a couple of months. It's less than 2 months, isn't it? It's the 1st of June, I think his contract expires. And if he puts in a few performances between now and the end of the season, he can always point to this run of 7-8 games and say to whatever club that might be considering him in the summer, look, if I can keep fit, then I'll perform for you. There's the proof. But the fact of the matter is, he won't keep fit, or he say he's not fit at least. So, no, Fabian Delph, I'm not going to say someone played crap when he didn't play crap, but I am certainly not patting him on the back for what he did yesterday. Played a big part, yes, he did, but the fact of the matter is, Fabian Delph still owes Evertonians far more than he can possibly repay in this final stretch of games. So, Fabian Delph, as soon as his contract runs out, go, piss off. You've been a waste of time.
One player who was also redeeming himself very quickly, I think, is Alex Iwobi. Like, I thought his performance was really good against Man United. I thought his performance in other games as recently has been pretty decent as well. I think, where do you think that's come from? Is there any sort of ulterior motive there? Is he looking for a move?
I think it's just he's got a manager who he gets on with better. I mean, Iwobi, personality-wise, I think he's very free-spirited, and he probably responds to sort of a younger manager, maybe. Whereas what managers he had before, Frank, he had Carlo, Carlo's an old coach, isn't he? A lot of his methods were kind of more old school type of thing. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Carlo Ancelotti's Carlo Ancelotti. Look at what he's achieved in his career, and look at what he's achieving now, Real Madrid. Well, it didn't shock me that Carlo Ancelotti couldn't really get anything out of Alex Iwobi, or that Alex Iwobi didn't respond to Carlo Ancelotti's way of managing. And before that, it was Marco Silva, who I don't think anyone responded to Marco Silva. He was a young guy, but he just had no charisma, and his grasp of English probably wasn't great, was it? That's not to say it was not to have a pop at him, but his communication skills were just sorely lacking, even if he had good ideas in his head. So I'm not shocked that Iwobi didn't respond to Marco Silva either. Before that, he had maybe Arsene Wenger and Emery. Now, they're very, very good managers in their own right. I bet there's 2 guys he had at Arsenal, but Emery never really believed in him. And I think Arsene Wenger had a lot of other things going on around the time that Iwobi broke through. Arsene Wenger was in his final few years where it just felt like every week he was under siege, wasn't it? And in a crisis. So he couldn't really invest a lot of time in these youngsters. He had to start trying to win trophies every year just to keep the Wolves at bay in his final 2-3 years at Arsenal. So I think Iwobi's been a bit unlucky with managers. He's maybe just not had the right manager for him yet in his career, and he's finally got one with Frank. And maybe it is just a case of the penny finally dropping with him, but he realises that if he doesn't get a move on soon, his career is just going to pass him by, and he's never really going to have done anything in his career, and he's never really going to have settled into a role and really made a name for himself. He's just going to be a journeyman, basically. He's going to move on from Arsenal to Everton, and then he was going to get moved on from Everton, and he'd go somewhere else. And why would the same thing not happen again? It's somewhere else. So it's a combination of him getting a manager who he trusts and who he communicates better with, and just maybe the player himself growing up a little bit and sorting his own attitude out. But yeah, he's done really well for us the last few weeks, hasn't he? And 2-3 months ago, if you'd have said to me, do you want to keep Alex Iwobi at Everton, I'd have said absolutely no chance. Get rid of him for the first offer we get. But he's played himself into form under Frank, doesn't he? And Frank seems to like him. So if Frank wants to keep him around in the summer, then I think if you trust Frank, then you've got to just trust Iwobi then.
That's the thing. Like, I'm always open to potentially selling players, because the best teams, the teams that sort of have grown, beyond teams that were below us who've leapfrogged us in recent years are sides who've been selling clubs like your Leicesters, your Aston Villas. You know, you've got to sometimes
even your
sell.
even your West Hams. I know they've got Moyes, but they've sold a couple of big players last few years. They sold Arnautovic, didn't they? They sold Haller, didn't they? He was only there a year, but he was supposed to be a big signing for them. Who it didn't really work out for him. But again, he only had 1 year. A lot of other clubs and other managers would have given him a bigger chance, wouldn't he? And gave him longer, but they didn't. They just decided, no, let's just cash in on him while we can possibly get some money and move on and consider it a failed experiment.
That's what it's about. Like, they sold at a 20 million loss for Haller, but they still cashed in for, still got 22, 23 back for him.
They made a decision quick. They made a decision and stuck to it. They didn't just ooh and ah, did they? Like, it seems like we do a lot of the time with players.
Yeah, we've done it a lot, but, I'm still of the belief that, like, if we want to rebuild our club, we need to start cashing in on players when the stock's high more often. I get it with some of the rare, like Richarlison, like you say, it'll be heartbreaking to sell him, but I think most of the others.
I really hope we don't sell Richarlison, but if we did, and it was for a big fee, I could accept it. I'll ask you, James, if there's a bid comes in for Richarlison in the summer, what would it take for you to be comfortable with Everton selling Richarlison? Because for me, it's nothing under 80 million.
100 million.
I remember we bought him for quite a lot of money.
100 million plus.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with anyone who says that.
Jack Grealish leaves Villa and goes to City for 100 million. Richarlison's worth more. And that's the precedent.
Richarlison's a better player necessarily, Frank, than Jack Grealish, but I think he is just as important to Everton's team as Jack Grealish was to Villa's.
Precisely, and that's the precedent that's been set now.
Yeah.
So anything sub 100 million is not really going to turn my head if I was in the hot seat.
Yeah, I agree with that, to be fair.
I think Richarlison's proven time and again what it's not just his technical ability. There's so much to Richarlison that's valuable. And it'll be valuable to us and also to the club that he goes to. So, you've got to add that value on.
How much for you to sell Pickford?
Pickford? 70.
See, a lot of people love Pickford, and he has been a lot better this season. And he was good for most of last season. But Pickford's still one of those players who I think is still a bit too up and down for us. I'm a lot more on his side than I was 18 months ago. 18 months ago, I was just desperate to get him out the Everton team, and I couldn't wait to see the back of him. But he has been Mr. Consistent for at least 12 months now, if not a little bit longer than that. And he was crucial in us winning that game yesterday with that save right at the end, and a couple of good saves in the first half as well. But if let's say England do something in this World Cup, right? I don't know how long Pickford's got left on his contract, but let's say England go to the World Cup and make another semi-final, or even possibly go and win it. I know it's a winter one, but then there's another offer for Pickford in the January transfer window or summer 2023. And we've still got Pickford under a long-term deal by then. Again, I'm not too sure how long he's got left, whether he's only have a year left in 2023 or two. But if we got an offer for Pickford inside the next 12 to 18 months, how much would it take for you to sell him?
70.
How much do we buy him for? About 30?
30, 35 maybe.
I'd go a little bit lower than that. I think I'd probably take 50 for Jordan Pickford. Maybe, but maybe I'm in the minority with that because I know Jordan Pickford is one of, he's gone from zero to hero, hasn't he, for Evertonians? As I said 18 months ago, he was probably one of the most disliked players in our squad, and now he's probably one of the most popular, except for, I don't know, Anthony Gordon and Richarlison.
I think for me, Pickford, he's consistently been England's number one now for 4 years. Done very well for England as well, and doing better for Everton as well, like you say. There's enough credit in the bank there to value him at the same prices. Obviously, Alisson was around 75, but Kepa was valued at 70. Outlandish, maybe, but on top of the fact that he's like English, which is always seems to come at a premium anyway, I think 70 is quite reasonable.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree. It's just I don't think Jordan Pickford's that important to an Everton team. I think there are goalkeepers out there we could get who are around the level Pickford is and could do a good job for us. But enough of that. I want to go back to Yeah,
we could do that with a tidy profit. I think it'd be smart to sell him for around 70 million and bring in a new keeper for 30, 40. That could do the same job.
I want to. We've talked a little bit about what we think will happen in the summer now, and who deserves to stay and who doesn't, and who we'd be comfortable getting rid of. But I want to mention, because he did brilliantly, and he's had a tough time since he got here because of a large number of things like managerial changes and being played out of position, and the small fact that his home country is getting destroyed by a large neighbour. I thought Mykolenko was class.
He's
had his best game by far.
He did brilliantly.
Yeah. Now, whether he's going to ever be as good as Luca Dean, probably not. You know, you never say never, do you? He's still early days for him. Is he going to be this swashbuckling left back who is going to make the place his own for 10 years? You just don't know. But I think that was the moment that he sort of really arrived, that he sort of kind of announced himself as an Everton player, and he's going to be an Everton player for a good while. Whether he's first choice, whether he's second choice, whether he's someone who just kind of comes in and out every now and then and gets a run and then comes back out again. You don't know. I don't know what the future is, the immediate future is for Mykolenko. It's just, I think he's going to be a player who everyone really gets behind and really takes to, because he's one of those players who, what he lacks, he might lack technically, but he's all heart, isn't he?
He's all heart.
And he's a good character. Yeah, I can imagine he's a very good character to have in the dressing room, because even though he's young and he seems like a quiet boy, like he doesn't seem like he's not very vocal on the pitch, is he? I don't know whether it's just a language barrier or something, or whether it's just because he's got so many things on his mind, as you said. But he just seems like such a likable fella. Like, even though all this is going on back home, he's still taking time to do things that people would absolutely forgive him and not hold against. Would forgive him for and not hold against him if he wasn't doing all of this, like staying and communicating with the fans on Twitter and talking to the fans in the stadium. And there's obviously that touching thing he shared with the steward who gave him an envelope with some money in it, saying donate this to Ukraine. If this was a lad who just did what Gabaman did and just buried his head and was just completely missing, other than on match days where just he wasn't leaving his front door other than to go to training, I think people would forgive him for that, because of what's going on and the fact that he's so young and he's in a new country and his head's battered. But he seems like he's not doing all of that. He's still going out of his way to kind of make this city his new home, mix with his fellow players, mix with the supporters, kind of build relationships, because he's got an idea that he's going to be, because he understands that he's going to be here long term and it's important to do all of that stuff. And I just really want to tap a lad on the back.
He appreciates the fans, I think, as well, which is something that
he does. We
need more players who appreciate the value of the supporters here. And I know
exactly, and he's played at a level higher than most of these supporters. He's played in the Champions League. What other players have we got who played the Champions League?
Not many.
Not many. I don't think any of them have. Really. I know he's come from Ukraine, and Dynamo Kiev they're a big team in Eastern Europe, but they're not a big team in the mainstream Europe, like in England, France, Germany, Spain. Like, no one in these countries who follows football really takes Ukrainian football seriously. But there's still a name who are well heard of around the world, and he's played in he's a full-on international. So it's not like he's just come from the third division somewhere and he's just some kid who's happy to get away from home because he doesn't have to work on the farm anymore. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I've really made up for Mykolenko that he had by far his best Everton performance, and if he can keep that up and play to a level that's similar to that, then good on him. Then I really think he's got a long-term future at Everton. And if he can, hopefully, if the situation back home gets sorted sometime soon, then hopefully his performances can get even better, because I can't imagine that what's going on back home is not affecting his performances on the pitch. If what was Ukraine weren't at war like they were, then I think Mykolenko and every other Ukrainian in the league would be playing better than what they are. And they all seem to be playing fairly well, considering everything that's going on anyway. So
yeah, I think so. But I think he'd come across as a very, very likable character. And I think, the players who fans here seem to warm to the most are the ones that interact with supporters. I think the fans love it when the players get involved with the community on their own.
Them, yeah.
Not as part of club initiatives, but of their own accord. And I think Mykolenko's done that a lot already. And
yeah,
that's always quite endearing for us as supporters. I think Richarlison does it more than any of them. and hence
Yeah,
why
that's why
he's
Richarlison's as loved as he is. Yeah,
so loved, and Anthony Gordon as well. Obviously, being a local lad, he gets it anyway. But the players who are most well liked aren't always necessarily. I mean, some of our better players, but also the players who really show that they care about the club and get involved with the community and get involved with the fans and
yeah, we're never ever going
make
to, no matter
themselves
how good
quite
they are on the,
human. Come
yeah,
across as quite
no matter
human
how
to the
good they
fans.
are. This is why we're different from certain clubs like this and certain clubs aren't. But we're definitely a group of supporters who we don't take to players, no matter how good they are on the pitch, if we feel like they're only here. If we think that they think that they're only passing through. That's why Lukaku, as great as he was in terms of scoring goals for us, was never universally loved, because there was never that feeling that he wanted to be here for the long term and he wanted to take the club into his heart, and he wanted to consider the supporters like his family. It always felt like Lukaku was just waiting for something better to come along, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
that's
I
why
think
fans never really took to him. Whereas there's
stuff.
other players who are nowhere near as good as Lukaku who are more popular than him because they've done exactly that. We've got the feeling that they're happy to be here and they wouldn't want to go somewhere else at the drop of a hat.
I think that was the thing, though. I think I don't mind it when players use us as a stepping stone and go to bigger clubs, because odds are Richarlison will probably do that at some stage. But I think it's more that while you're here, you've got to embrace the club and not treat the club as if it's doing you a favour. As if you're doing us a favour being here. You've got to have.
You can use the club as a stepping stone as long as it wasn't your intention all along to do that. If something comes along, there's an offer from a big club and it suits us, then yeah, we can shake hands and we can part as friends, hopefully. But when it feels like you're just sitting around waiting for that bid to happen, like Calvert-Lewin's doing, that's where there's going to be big problems, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, even if players come here and use it and think it's a stepping stone, as long as you give everything to this club while you're here, and like I say, make yourself approachable and a compassionate and sort of interact with the supporters, I think, and make it realise that you are part of this club. In the and even if you do leave later down the line, I think you've got to let fans warm to you. I think.
Yeah, I think we've made our point with that. But just going on now, we've got obviously 7 games left. We are 4 points clear of Burnley somehow. After this weekend's fixtures, we're on 28 points, I think, as it stands. I'll ask you now, mate, how many points do you think we need to get to be safe? And how many points do you see us realistically getting? And how many points do you see Burnley realistically getting?
I'll have to look at Burnley's running for that, because I'm only really aware of what
I know
they've got in
they've
store.
got West Ham. I know what their next 2 games are. I think they've got West Ham away, and then they've got Wolves at home.
Yeah, let me just
Our
check
next game is obviously going to be Leicester at home, and then we've got the derby over at Anfield, which is just going to be a typical arse smacking like it always is. But
yeah, I'm just going to completely disregard the derby. I think that's a
we can just disregard the derby. So yeah, as far as we're concerned, people can be negative about. They could say, "Oh, don't be like that," but we're only going from past experience. As far as Evertonians are concerned, you should just imagine Everton have only got 6 games left.
Yeah, well, it's actually 7 games minus the derby. We've got 8
is
left.
it? Have we played 30 games? Have we? I thought we'd done 31.
30.
So
both us and Burnley have 30, but I think Leeds just above us have 31.
Okay, no, I'm not. Yeah, it's still very possible we could finish above Leeds, but I'm not focusing on that. I'm just focusing on making sure that we don't drop down.
Burnley are the threat.
Yeah, they are. It's as long as we finish above Burnley, then I think we're fine. I mean, Watford are not out of it yet. Watford would need to go on a serious run to have any hopes of getting out of it. I think Norwich, even though they got a great result today, they're definitely going down. They've left themselves too much to do. I think Norwich would literally have to win every game. And I don't see that happening. And I think Watford can't afford to lose another game and need to win most of them. And I don't see that happening either. I think if Watford beat us in that away game in a few weeks, then I think they're definitely still in it. But I just really do think it's down to us and Burnley between who finishes 4th from bottom and 3rd from bottom. I really do. If we can finish above Burnley, we'll be all right. And that's what we're going to go into now. What are our upcoming fixtures after the next 2, which is Leicester then Liverpool?
We've got Chelsea at home, which again sounds tough, but it's similar to Manchester.
I could see a draw there. I could see a draw.
I can see a win in most home, even a win there. Like I fancy us to win all the home
Maybe
games
not a win.
and lose all the away games. To be honest,
I mean, it depends on whether they get through in the Champions League. That the 3-1 down from the first leg, and there's no away goals, so it wouldn't shock me if Chelsea went over to Madrid and somehow clawed it back. They're well capable of that, but you wouldn't put money on it, would you? Or at least I wouldn't. So if Chelsea are out of the Champions League, then I think that would be a very hard day for us. I don't see us getting a win against the Chelsea team that has no other football to be concentrating on. But draw, I could see a draw though, as we had everyone fit.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we apart from Patterson, I think we should have everyone back for Leicester. I think Mina's getting closer, I think, isn't he?
We've got to win that. We've got to win that. If we win that, if we win that game and Burnley lose to West Ham, that is a gigantic step towards safety. I wouldn't say it guarantees it. There's still get a lot of points to play for afterwards, but I think that would be possibly a killer blow to Burnley's morale if that happens, if we manage to go 7 points clear of them. So we've got to win that Leicester game, and I'm confident with Mina back and Van der Beek back in the team that we are going to win that Leicester game.
Yeah, I think
I'd be crushed if we don't. I'd be absolutely crushed if we don't. Even if we draw it, it's not an absolutely terrible result. But if we've got to be winning that Leicester game. Leicester are a decent team, but they're going to be playing 6 games, and they're going to be playing 3 games in 6 days. I think, can't they?
Is they still in the Europa Conference?
Yeah. They've got to play this. They've got to play the second leg, I think, against PSV. They play 3 games in 6 days, and I think we are the 6th game. Sorry, the 3rd game. They play this Thursday. They play against PSV, and then I think they play. What am I thinking of? Yeah, they play this Thursday. Then they play on the weekend, don't they? Are they still in the FA Cup?
No, but I think our game's postponed because of the cup. Whoever we have must still be in the cup.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting that mistake. Yeah, they're going to play. Yeah, they're going to play this Thursday in the Europa League 2 Conference League, whatever it is. Then they're going to play on Thursday in a league game, and then they're going to play us on the Wednesday at Goodison. So that will be their 3rd game.
Yeah, they're playing. They're at Newcastle on the Sunday, and our game.
That'll be hard. And the form.
Yeah, we were meant to have Palace.
We were, yeah.
The league, but they obviously knocked us out.
I keep thinking, because we're going to miss a game, that everyone else is going to miss a game, but they're not. We're a near enough fully fit team, mate, and with a Leicester team that's bound to be knackered because they're going away to PSV as well, and then they've got to go all the way up to. And they play in Newcastle at St James's.
At St James's, yeah.
Think of all the travelling that's going to take that out of them. They're going to be absolutely knackered by the time they turn up at Goodison Park on Wednesday night.
It's a game under the lights as well, which we usually tend to get ourselves as fans up for.
Yeah, I can see us winning that game. I really can. I don't want to jinx it because there's so many games I thought we were going to win. I thought we were going to win the Burnley one, and we didn't. But
no, I never fancied
if we win that. We win that Leicester game and Burnley lose to West Ham, then oh my word, what a relief that would be. It won't seal it, but it would go an awful long way to getting us to safety because I just think that would be a hammer blow to Burnley if they fall 7 points behind at this stage.
Well, I'm going to let you go out on one and say, I reckon 3 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses between now and the end of the season.
3 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses.
3 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses.
So what would that be? 11 points.
Yeah, so that takes us to 39.
I don't think we'll get quite that many. I think we'll finish on about 36.
Yeah.
And I think 36 and I think 35 is what you need to get to. Because Burnley are on 24. 24. I don't think they're getting 11. I'd be shocked if they got 10 points, mate. I do not think they're getting 11, 12 points.
We've got very winnable fixtures.
We've got Brentford at home, Palace at home, Leicester at home, Chelsea at home, and I don't see us getting anything out of the away games.
Yeah.
I don't see us getting anything at Anfield. Absolutely not. I don't see us getting anything down at Arsenal. They'll be playing for the top 4. That's probably going to come down to the last day of the season.
Yeah,
They'll spank us as well.
my
Who
prediction
else have we
is
got away?
we've got Watford away. I think I don't see us winning it, but
That's a crucial one. If we can draw that, then that's Watford completely out of it.
That's my idea. I think we'll probably draw at Watford, maybe home draw with Chelsea. Home wins against Leicester, Brentford, Palace, and then lose all the other away games. Leicester away, Liverpool away, Arsenal away.
Even if we lose all the away games, you absolutely don't want to lose that Watford one because you'd just be giving them the motivation. But if Watford don't get some wins before that game, then Watford are going to be out of it because Watford are 2 points behind Burnley, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not far behind.
Yeah, so we're already 6 points ahead of Watford. If Watford, I think, need to not lose another game, otherwise they're out of it, and they need to be winning. They're on 31 points, aren't they? I think out of their last 7 games, they've got to win 4 at least to have a chance, and you don't want one of those 4 if it happens to be us. Jesus, but Watford, it's a tall ask for them. But as I was saying, we're on 28 points now. I think if we get to 35 or more, then we're definitely safe. Because I just don't see Burnley getting another 10 plus points between now and the end of the season. They might scrap and I think
they're actually quite capable of it. I think it's going to take.
Do you?
I think it's going to take a bit more than that to stay up. I think it is going to take close to 40.
Let's go through Burnley's fixtures and tell me what you think their results are going to be.
So they're away at West Ham. I think you might lose that.
They'll get beat.
Then they've got a game under the lights. The night after we have Leicester, they've got Southampton at home.
They could win that. They could win that. I wouldn't make them the favourites, but I know Southampton are one of these teams who've got nothing to play for.
Southampton is one of the most unpredictable teams in this league.
They are, and they can be one of those teams that will go to a Burnley under the lights and just let themselves get bullied. Won't be outfought. So I wouldn't. Okay, let's just assume they're going to win that Southampton game.
Wolves at home.
Draw, I like maybe. Wolves. I don't see them beating Wolves. I think they could get a draw definitely against Wolves, but I'd be shocked if they beat Wolves. I know Wolves went to Leeds and threw it away, but they had a lot of help Leeds that night from the referee. Let's not forget. Right, yeah. I know Wolves are a bit up and down, aren't they? But I think they're a much better team than Southampton are for me. Wolves, and they're playing for Europe, and aren't they as well? They're not too far away from the Europa League places, so I'm going to go for a draw with that one. I don't see them beating Wolves, but I don't think it's nailed on Wolves will beat them. So I'll go for they'll get a point against Wolves.
Next one's the big 6 points. I think they're at Watford.
I think that'll be a draw.
That's going to be
a draw. Doesn't do any of them any good. People will say that's going to be both teams are going to go all out for the win. I could see that being a 1-1 or a 2-2. I really could.
Then they've got Villa at home.
It's just the one thing you don't want to happen is Watford win that game and then Watford beat us and then Watford are bang in the fight, aren't they?
Exactly. I think that's.
I'm going to go to limb on a limb and for this one and say Watford Burnley will be a draw.
Hopefully,
and then already you're struggling to see where they're going to get the points to get above us, aren't you?
You'd hope that, but then you've got Burnley at home with Aston Villa. I think they'll win that, to be honest.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think that's similar to the Southampton. I think that's again. It falls onto that thing for me. Where I wouldn't be shocked if they won it, but I wouldn't be shocked if they lost it. I think a draw is the most obvious result. Aston Villa are up. They're probably more up and down than anyone to Gerrard. They've lost the last 4. Get a good start under them.
You won about 4, lost about 4, won about 3, lost about 4. I think now, isn't it?
Yeah, but I know it's easy to laugh at Gerrard because he was getting stupidly overhyped for what he did at Rangers. Like, would anyone give a toss if Alan McCoist went unbeaten for the season at Rangers? No, they wouldn't. But you got to remember, Gerrard's not even started really there. He's not even got down to work. Aston Villa yet. He's going to want to get his own players in the summer. He's going to want to tear some people out. I don't think anyone should be looking at what's going on at Aston Villa and just assuming that Gerrard's not going to be any good just because they're losing a few games. And they've got to stop the rot somewhere, haven't they? Gerrard will be absolutely livid at the fact that they're on this losing run, and he'll want to pick up some wins before the end of the season so he can finish in the top half. Because if they finish in the top half, then he can consider that a very good, solid start to his Aston Villa tenure, considering where he took them over from. I imagine that's what he was probably told when he went in there a couple of months ago. Look, just take us for the rest of the season, and if you can, get us in the top half, because that will give us a platform to build on for next season. So I don't see Burnley beating Aston Villa. They could definitely, but I could see Aston Villa beating them. I think the safest bet again is another draw.
And I think
what's that, 6 points out of the 5 games?
I think so. Yeah. Then they go to Tottenham.
No chance. They'll get battered.
I don't think it's that nailed on, but you might get a draw. Maybe I don't think they'll win.
No, not for me. No.
The
way Tottenham are under Conte, mate, and the top 4's there for Tottenham to steal. Then no, they're not getting anything at Tottenham. No chance.
Then they go to Aston Villa away. Then so like they've got Villa like twice in 2 weeks.
I think Villa will definitely beat them at Villa Park. Said the game at Turf Moor is up for anyone to take. I fancy a draw for that, but I think at Villa Park, Villa will definitely do them.
And then on final day, they're at home against Newcastle.
I think they'll probably beat Newcastle at home.
But I think by that point, Newcastle will have, obviously, final day, they won't have anything to play for.
Yeah, Newcastle will be on their holidays by then. They'll be well safe. So, again, a draw's not a bad shout, but if I'm going to pick any team to win that game on the final day, I'd pick Burnley. So, out of those games, I think I had them winning 2 games and drawing 3, which is 9. And I'm pretty confident in those picks I made. I could be wrong, of course I could, but I just don't see how Burnley are getting...
That takes Burnley on to 33.
And that's why I thought that if you get to 35, you'll definitely be safe. Because we've got... What's our goal difference, just out of interest, compared to Burnley's? Is it much better? Is it much worse?
Near enough identical, I think.
You're not sure, then?
We are both -19. It's identical.
And I don't see, other than maybe the Tottenham game, I don't see them getting thrashed in any games that they lose. I mean, we're going to get thrashed in the derby, and we're probably going to get thrashed at Arsenal by like 2-3 goals minimum in both games. But I don't see Burnley getting thrashed. So Burnley could finish with a better goal difference than us very easily. And you don't want it to come down to us finishing on level points, or maybe there's only a point in it on going into the final day, because
I want to be
terrified.
Really, we need to be going into the final day at Arsenal already safe.
Yeah.
We need to be done and dusted before the final day.
Yeah, so they're on 24 points, and I think they're going to get 9 points out of it, give or take. But they could finish. I think they're going to get 8 to 10 points between now and the end of the season, 8 to 10, which would take them to 32 to 34, maybe 35 at a push. But we're on 28 points, and I can see us getting another 7 or 8 points before the end of the season quite easily, which would take us to over 36. And I think we'll probably just about have enough. I mean, I hope to God I'm not jinxing this, but I don't see Burnley getting 4 points, four more points than us between now and the end of the season. I just don't, honestly. It might be. It's too close for comfort, of course it is. But you just look at Burnley compared to what I saw today. I take the game they beat us out of the equation, because it was us. It was away. We're hopeless. We're spineless. But you watch them against Norwich today, mate. I was looking at them thinking, these are not getting 10 plus points, and they're going to need 10 plus points to have any chance of getting above us. I just don't see it happening.
But we've got to try and find ways to get results away from home. I know we're not doing it. We need to change it quickly. And I know we are spineless, but even the worst teams can get the odd draw away.
Well, that's what we've got to do.
And if we're going to get that, maybe turn that what I predicted there, a defeat at Leicester, turn that into a draw. Maybe
we've got to play Leicester twice. Yeah,
home and away. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think we'll get anything out of Leicester away. I think we'll beat them at home, though, definitely, considering they'll be all the air miles that they'll pull in 3 games in 6 days. I'd be so disappointed if we don't beat Leicester at Goodison in our next game. But just looking at it, I think if we could only have 1 point away from home between now and the end of the season, it's a point away at Watford. Because I think if Watford don't beat us, Watford are out of it. And they could be out of it anyway. But that could, if we get beat by Watford at Watford, that will just cause everyone to start the anxiety just to rise again, won't it? So if we could get 1 point away from home between now and the end of the season, it's got to be a point against Watford. But if we win 2 home games or 3 home games and get a point or 2 away, we're all right. I think we need to get to 35, which is 7 points away from where we are now. I think we'll finish on 36. I think we'll get 8 points between now and the end of the season. We'll get two wins and a draw and 2 draws, or we'll get 3 wins and no at home and no points away.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I mean, I'm always a bit nervous about looking over your shoulder, Burnley, because they always seem to have a good run in.
You say that, but there's precious little that you see in them this season to suggest that's coming, especially today. Norwich, I think, are the worst team in the league by far. They're at the bottom of the table for a reason, aren't they?
We speak of all these things, and obviously Burnley getting done off Norwich is good for us, but let's not forget that we're capable of the same thing. We got done 2-0 or 2-1 at Norwich.
Yes, we did, but there's a lot of other factors that we've got against us that those other teams like Norwich and Watford haven't had against them. You've got to remember that we have had a chronic injury list this season. We have had VAR just screwing us over on multiple occasions. We have had just players just losing form or chucking the towel in for us and deciding they don't want to play here anymore, like Luca Dean. All these things. I'm not trying to cut our players some slack, but you've got to just take into account that we are not just on the same level as these clubs when everyone's fit. And I think if we survive this season, unless something absolutely terrible goes on in the summer, I don't think we'll be in a relegation battle next year. I don't know where we're going to be. I don't think for 1 minute we're going to go back to challenging for Europe or even necessarily getting back in the top half. But I don't think that we're going to be in the bottom 4 in the final running of the season next year, because we just can't have as many. It's just law of averages, isn't it? We can't have as many things go wrong for us next year as have gone wrong this year.
Mate, you haven't heard
and
enough
the
about
things that have
Everton,
gone wrong
really.
this year, which no one can help, have severely affected us. They have.
I think there's plenty. I do think there is more to it, that referees are trying to stick the knife into us.
That's dangerous territory to go to. I definitely believe the referees are crooked, but whether they're specifically crooked against Everton or whether they're just crooked because in the sense that they don't care about certain teams and they only want to look after certain other clubs that are raking all the money in, I definitely believe that.
It could well be. I think it's because we're the only remaining club that's not in said group that you've just raised that have never been down before.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion, mate, and I wouldn't say you're definitely wrong because the evidence is there to suggest, considering how much has gone against us and how much we've been absolutely done in by stupid, inept referees this year. I can't really argue with you, but personally, I'm more inclined to believe it's just they want to look after certain clubs and we're not in that group of clubs they want to look after, so they don't care if they do everything wrong.
Fair play. On top of that, I think there is also, like you say, we've had bad luck with the injuries. I think both us and also I think Leeds as well have both been.
Yeah, and same, and I don't, and same about us. I'd say the same about Leeds as I'm saying about us. I don't think Leeds will be in this predicament next year either. They've been chronically unlucky, whereas Watford, Norwich, and Burnley were always going to be in this predicament, wouldn't they? Because they are the 3 teams that are lowest on quality. They're not the lowest when it comes to guts and fighting spirit and organisation and tactics, but they are the worst 3 clubs when it just comes to the amount of talent they've got in their team. And if they go down, it will be because they are the worst 3 teams. Whereas if we go down, I don't think it would necessarily be because we were one of the worst 3 teams. We were performance-wise, but there were reasons for those bad performances. There were, as I said, the awful injury list, the players just jacking it in on us in the middle of the season, the referees just screwing us over multiple times. There'd be a lot more to go into if it went down than there would be if Burnley or Watford do.
I think that's another reason why I'm of the belief that there is a conspiracy, is because Premier League, it's all about drama. It's whatever can raise the most eyebrows at this stage, I think.
Yeah, well, hopefully all we can do is just go out on the pitch and get some points in some winnable games and make sure that doesn't happen. And so we hopefully just move on and decide to target some their crooked agenda on someone else. Fingers
crossed, But
fingers crossed.
Obviously, just to get the win this weekend, I think, is just a massive relief just to get us, just to have the bad week that we had, like with the 2 defeats, to be able to bounce back from that. It's just,
yeah, just put
a little bit
Wednesday
of hope.
behind us. Hopefully, we never have to experience that feeling again. Honestly, because it was the worst I'd ever felt as an Evertonian. The absolute worst I'd ever felt. I was utterly convinced. I was convinced we were gone. I was convinced. I thought that's it. That's it. We're finished. We're gone. If I go and watch this Everton team again, I'm going to be watching them in the Championship. And oh my God, I never thought I'd ever have to say that. So hopefully not. Hopefully we've rescued this situation. We've pulled it back from the brink, or we're going to pull it back from the brink, because the job's absolutely not done yet. And even if we win this next game against Leicester, I don't think the job will be done then either.
No, it's nowhere near.
It's a massive step. It's
even
a massive step.
Win,
and the biggest steps are always the most important ones.
Even if we win against Leicester and Burnley get beat, it's anything but done.
No, it's not done. But it's what I was saying earlier on. I just think if those 2 results come to pass, I think that would just knock the stuffing out of Burnley, and then I would be absolutely sure that they're not going to get 4 more points than us between now and the end of the season. So I think it's probably best if we leave it there. Let us know in the comments. Have a look at Burnley's fixture list compared to ours. We both got 8 games to go, and tell us how many points that you realistically think we're going to get out of these last 8 fixtures, and what do you think is the golden number that Everton needs to reach to be absolutely sure that we're not going down? I think it needs to be 35. We're on 28 now, and I can see us getting 7 or 8 points between now and the end of the season and getting to 35, 36. I think we'll finish on 36. Did you say you saw us finishing on 38?
I said, my predictions led it to 39. But looking at it now, I think that might be a bit excessive. But for me, I reckon that the number needed to guarantee it for me is about 38 myself, because I think it's going to be, I really think it's going to be a lot more to the wire. I mean, I don't like 30.
You say 38, but that means that Burnley, who were on 24 out of their last 8 games, would need to get 14 points.
4 wins and a draw.
I can't for the life of me see that happening. I really can't. I mean, never say never. And we have to assume that is going to happen between now, because that's got to be our team's motivation. We've got to be making sure we win as many games as we possibly can, because Burnley are going to be winning the games we don't think they're going to. But I think 35 is the golden number. I think Everton finish on 36. Burnley probably finish on about 33, 34, maybe. But let us know what you think in the comments. Have you got any final thoughts, mate?
Just a quick one to touch on. And maybe people might have a go at me for being a bit toxic here, but I'm really pleased we're doing better, and hopefully this continues. We win more games and we get cleared of trouble. But it shouldn't mask how badly the club's being run, and that we need to.
Oh yeah, still, yeah, 100%.
I heard a lot of things about on the final home game, whether we're down or we're up or whatever, that this should be, irrespective of the outcome, some sort of protest, and similar to what I think happened with Peter Johnson in '98.
Something along those lines.
What?
I would probably support that if it happens. I wouldn't support any sort of protest that involves fans maybe trying to go in on the pitch, run on the pitch or anything like that. But I would support like the idea of maybe another sit-in or a march beforehand or whatever. I am in favour of just some sort of some sort of public thing happening that makes clear to all the Wales media and the people who are responsible for getting us in this mess that just because we've survived this time, we are not ever going to put up with this, and we absolutely cannot have anything even remotely close to this happening again.
I think that is the point I'm basically making, is that obviously going into, you hope that this would be the conclusion of the Crystal Palace game on the Thursday night before the final day. Normally after the final home game, they have this very cringe-worthy lack of appreciation. So,
oh my God, I hope to God they don't even bother doing that.
My point exactly is that
there could be a couple of players, there'd be a couple of people, let's say we do survive, there'd be a few people who I think could go out there and do a walk around the pitch and deserve to have the fans kind of back them. And Frank would be one of them if he does it. I think Anthony Gordon would be another one. Maybe Richarlison. I know he's not scored many this season, but his endeavour's always been there. But the majority of the players after the final game of the season, I just don't ever want to see them again in an Everton shirt. Even if we stay up and we stay up at a canter, I just take your shirt off and get out the door. Don't ever come back.
All I'll say is that the Everton hierarchy have never been very blessed when it comes to their ability to read the room. So don't doubt that that'll still probably happen.
Oh yeah, Ken Wright, we're going on the pitch giving a cry out speech, won't he? And things like that. And
but the fact of the matter is, what I'm basically saying is that something like that, obviously, like you say, don't condone really like everyone legging on the pitch and doing whatever, but that opportunity where they usually ask the fans to stay behind to applaud would be a good opportunity, I think, to do the opposite and maybe make people aware that we don't accept what's happened this season.
Yeah. No, definitely. And
I just wanted to make that point. Obviously, we are all on a bit of a high after yesterday. And it was a good result, and hopefully, it is onwards and upwards, and we get it.
Yeah, no, but we can't lose sight of. We can't lose sight of what's happened at the club that's led to this. Yeah.
Don't forget about the mismanagement and the bad moves that have led us to being in such a position in the first place.
No, I agree 100%, and I'd be definitely behind any sort of idea. Maybe the 27 years campaign will return again, or someone else will organise something. But if they do, as long as it doesn't involve anyone going over the top, like getting violence with anyone else, then I'd be 100% behind that idea.
Absolutely. But for now, anyway, guys, let's enjoy a much needed win.
It's back in our hands, and it's looking very, very achievable. So let's just get behind the players between every game now and the end of the season, and then we can go back to hating them and forcing them out after the final whistle on the final day.
Well, whatever happens is never a dull moment. Let us know your opinions, guys. Keep those comments coming in, like Paul said as well. Just get your comments in, your predictions, how many points you think we're going to need, and will we be able to achieve that? Let us know your opinions. Drop us a comment. Give this video a like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, guys. Thanks for watching on the Toffee Blues.